Gershenson.
Here.
Kokendorfer is absent with notice. Jackson.
Here.
Lubes.
Here.
Joliet.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Excellent. Next up, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. If there aren't any corrections, do we have a motion to approve our agenda? Motion by Commissioner Lubes, support by Commissioner Jackson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Or, I'm sorry, agenda's approved. Next up, we'll move on to public comment. As a reminder, this first public comment is related to items that are on our agenda. So at this time, I'd like to open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee this evening? Alrighty, seeing none, I will close public comment. Given that we have no communications, we will move on down to a regular item. We've got one item, the Parks and Recreation Budget Amendment to increase the salary grade for the classifications of lifeguards and Parks and Recreation Program Leader. Do we have a motion? Motion, or do we have support? Support by Commissioner Lubes. Motion by Commissioner Lubes, support by Commissioner Joliet. I believe we have Mr. Ward here with us, and I also believe we've got Mr. Matt and Mr. Tom with him. So welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Really do appreciate the expedited consideration of this resolution. We have these positions posted and we're getting our advertising campaign launched, so moving this quickly really does help our efforts. As we've discussed, and I know all of you are aware, we have significant challenges during the past season onboarding lifeguards in significant numbers, in sufficient numbers in order to operate our facilities, resulting in the Waterford Oaks Water Park wave pool not opening, and then at Red Oaks, we had a significant cutback in the days of operation. Some of the amenities and features had to be cut back. Pleased to have with me two gentlemen that know much more about this than I do, who are on the ground operating the facilities. Tom Hughes, who runs our South District Park operations, and Matt Party, who runs the Red Oaks Park. And be happy to answer any questions you specifically have. This resolution would raise the pay grade for the position of lifeguard from grade 203 to 205, and then there's another classification of rec program leader that had already been processed through HR and was going to come to you in perhaps the next month or so. And we just, while we had this opportunity, we'd like to move it through. From the fiscal impact standpoint, we're recruiting right now at, well, you'll see the chart on the back of the resolution here. We're recruiting at step 36 at $13.93 an hour.
How much is that, Chris? Say it again.
It's $13.93. It's a 92.70. 1392.70.
For which position?
That's lifeguard. And the rec program leader is in grade 202. I'm not sure. It's probably the same step.
Right.
And the end result here would be move it to grade 205, and that gives us the flexibility, essentially, to work with HR as market conditions dictate what our our ability is to hire people in the next few months. So, it starts at 1396. So we could go anywhere from 1396 to 1628. But rather than having to come to the Board of Commissioners and ask for this all over again, it's a simple phone call to HR to say, hey, can we start onboarding people at a higher step so that we can adjust to things that are happening out there in the market and difficulties that we're having with recruitment. So.
Excellent. Commissioner Gershenson?
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I've known many young people who have applied for parks positions, and because the application process has been so arduous and consumer unfriendly, many of these double-degreed university applicants have been rejected. Mm-hmm. And so I have talked in the past to HR because I think the system is very antiquated, and I certainly hope it's brought up to date. But starting at $13 an hour just doesn't sound positive to me. I mean, I would have expected at least starting at $15 an hour. I think we really need to do everything we can to ensure that we attract young people, and so I think wage has always been an issue, so I'm very happy you're approaching that, and I just want to be reassured that the application process is being looked at, because very often you have a objective person reviewing and throwing out, not moving applications forward, where sometimes the application process is really a subjective process, but having to go through the HR mechanism, sometimes that intangible of a recommendation doesn't get acknowledged. So there are many young people that I know have been dissuaded from applying because of the process.
I think you're going to get a huge amen from this corner. It's been, as I joined the Parks team, one of the rapid educations I received is, our county HR system is, well-developed for Oakland County government and full-time employment. It is a very poor fit for, an organization like Parks that is hiring on an annual basis a very large number of seasonal employees and turning over. And in a day and age when you can get a job and get paid today in some instances, and those are often the people that we're trying to compete with. Our system can take upwards of 6 weeks from, application to paycheck.
Right.
And I told these guys earlier today, I sat through a meeting we had and we went through the whole process of what it takes to onboard and the things they have to do the interviews and run all the checks and fill out the paperwork. And I am frankly amazed we get anybody under 20 years old on our staff, and it's a testament to them. We're trying to work through all those things with HR. We may be back to you to see what kind of additional flexibility or autonomy we could be provided at Parks so that we can, reasonably operate in the market and for the people that we're trying to attract to work for us. So that's all I got to say. We appreciate it. As far as Tom, what is the step we're looking at starting them at? It's not the first step.
For lifeguards?
Yeah. So
step 36 would be $15.36 an hour.
That's what we would advertise for if this passes, $15.36 an hour. And then we would just have the ability to go up to $16.28.
Okay, that's good.
That allows a room for our existing employees to move up a step too, so they're ahead of any new hires for lifeguards.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Jackson, followed by Commissioner Joliet.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ward, you did mention you were surprised that we could get anybody under the age of 20. And knowing nowadays it's so much different than it was back in history when I got my driver's license at 16. These young people, they take driver's training at a graduated level.
Right.
Some of them don't even get their licenses until 18. And so transportation. Have you guys looked at transportation issues in a way maybe we could help them get up here or down to Waterford Oaks? Because, Waterford or Red Oaks is, one end, and
Right.
Waterford is on the other end of
Right.
the county. So all the folks in the middle,
Yes.
they might not be able to drive there.
100%. We have talked about that. We've been doing a lot of brainstorming in the last couple of months of there's no one single thing that's going to solve this problem, and this is a nice help. Transportation is a barrier. We've talked about reaching out to SMART about extending the bus line to Waterford Oaks, which is not that far, but it's pretty far if you had to walk for the farthest bus stop for SMART. We've talked about Uber and Lyft as a possibility. Just as a testament to what you're stating, we did, before the decision was made that we couldn't open Waterford wave pool last year, we had some students recruited, and we ended up having to drive them down to Red Oaks in order to get them to work because they had those transportation issues. So it's a big barrier, and we're looking at everything. We're trying to work with HR to figure out what's implementable. You know, I mentioned, I think at your last meeting, the idea of maybe doing a scholarship program is another incentive as well that we'd like to bring to you.
Connectors seem to be a decent
Yeah.
thought, at least. Maybe
Yeah.
you could-
It was extended, I believe, last year to the farmer's market. Is that right, Tom?
It's been a few years.
Been a few years, yeah. So just a little bit farther down the road would make a big difference for us, so. yeah.
Excellent.
Open to all ideas.
Thank you. Commissioner Joliet?
Thank you. I fully support this. I think it's important that our millage passed and that we show the residents that our parks are open and able to use. So, and I know other kids that have become lifeguards, like at Lifetime, they offer a free membership. You know, you're offering with a lot of, or you're competing with a lot of places that are offering different perks. And I also echo Commissioner Gershenson's thoughts are on the application process, as you and I talked about. You lose them as soon as you have to file for the account and log in, and it's just a process. And yes, I
We're going to
think
bring you
autonomy
to our
would be
meeting.
good.
We're going to bring you to our meeting with Human Resources.
Okay,
And
okay.
I don't want, I do want to say they've been very helpful. We're just working within the system and the policies we have, and I think we have to figure out where's the limit of where we can go.
Okay.
To have additional flexibility and some autonomy, and all of the policies we have, there's a reason behind them, and many of them are very well-intentioned. They just don't, in practical application, when it comes to our level of hiring, don't work very well.
Right.
If you're looking for a full-time county employee that's going to be here on a permanent basis, absolutely, but not otherwise.
Thank you. Commissioner Loops?
I love the idea of revisiting the application process and raising the wages. When we have the movement to raise wages to $15 an hour throughout the county, this was a group that whoever decided not to include, and we can see now, you can see how this turned out. So I'm glad the finances worked out. Prices are rising everywhere, even for our teenagers who want the payoff of being able to buy something with their salary. So it works very well. I've also known lifeguards at Red Oaks who truly enjoyed their job. So thank you very much for making that a positive experience for them. One fellow enjoyed it so much in the Association of Water, he went on to join the Navy. So you did affect his life.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a tremendous amount of great people that started their careers at parks and are still with us years later. Matt, I don't know if you want to just share some of your experiences from the last season with the lifeguard challenges and how that played out and things they had to cut back. Yeah.
And I'll mention too, you know, back to just people who started. I started as a lifeguard at 16 at Red Oaks, and I'm there now as a full-time supervisor, and it is a great job, and it teaches you so many great life skills and develops your career. So, you know, we really enjoyed bringing on these young people and getting to coach them and mentor them. But we had some major struggles, as Mr. Ward said last year. You know, we wanted more than anything to open that water park fully. Being closed for 2020 was one of the oddest experiences of my life, walking in that water park in the middle of July and just seeing it empty. So wanting to get it reopened, but not having the staff just, you know, killed all of us. That we really wanted it to be functioning. And, you know, we were able to get enough lifeguards to operate in a limited capacity, but, you know, we're looking at this year, the mountain we have to kind of climb is insurmountable. Right now we have to hire about 40 lifeguards at Red Oaks and about 25 at Waterford to open that facility. Which is way more than we've ever done, even before the pandemic. I mean, lifeguarding as a job is declining. There's a national shortage, and this was before the pandemic. In 2019, we had major issues opening the parks. We had to do a lot of last-minute trainings and scaling back. And going even 18, 17, 16, there's a lot of discussion and stories out there in Parks and Recreation across the country where people are not going into lifeguarding the way they used to. So for us to be able to increase the wage and make it more appealing, we're doing on our end everything we can to make the trainings accessible, to bring in people, get them on board as quickly as we can and get them in the job. But as you've also aptly said, you know, we're competing with a whole bunch of different areas, and there's a lot of other places that pay very well that we're competing with. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Loops, were you finished?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, we'll have one more comment, not to do anything with this. My neighbor is Mike Pearsall, and he truly enjoys being there early in the morning and
Sure.
making sure the pool is safe for everybody. So
Yeah, Mike's a great
he has
guy.
a
He
good
works
sense
very
of
hard to
humor,
keep
too.
that pool up and running, so. yeah,
Yes.
He's great to have on our team.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Lutz. Commissioner Gershenson.
Yeah, Mr. Ward, I'd like to thank you for bringing some staff with you because we don't often get to interact and to hear your perspective, and I think it's critical for us to meet you. And along those lines, I've had the pleasure of working with Jeremy Brown at the Farmers Market, and I'm very excited about his new position, so I just wanted to pass on, great guy, great work ethic, and I hope it's a good fit.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's our new park supervisor at Independence in Orion Oaks, but we're going to miss him at the farmer's
Oh,
market.
he's been amazing. He's been a great partner with Healthy Oakland Partnership, which is a countywide group that focuses on getting fresh fruits and vegetables to seniors and low-income residents. So he played an integral role, and so I look forward to what he can do in his new position.
All right, well, we'll share that with him, but I don't want his head to get too big. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Commissioner Gershenson. I, too, certainly support this resolution. I've shared many of happy memories with my family and friends growing up and even as an adult, so I most certainly would like to avoid another closure as we did last year. So again, as other commissioners said, I do appreciate you being proactive and taking these measures now rather than waiting when it's probably too late. So thank you. And I also want to say, in regard to the application process and HR issues, I welcome near future conversations here at the LAGO Committee to further discuss and take a look at the things that we could do to help maybe smooth out that process and get back on track with a quicker form of applications and getting people on the job and getting them paid sooner. So I do appreciate that. Commissioners, is there any other questions or comments in regards to this item? All righty, seeing none. Roll call or prompt the vote, please.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we'll move on to our last public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee? As a reminder, this is for any items related or unrelated to our agenda. All righty, seeing none, I will close public comment. Commissioners, is there any further business to come before us? All righty, seeing none, without objection, I declare this meeting adjourned.